Hello, my name is Jonathan Williams, and today I will be talking about the amazing sport of golf. According to athleticsscholarships.net, golf dates back to the 900s in the Song dynasty in China. However, the first recorded game was 1457 in Scotland, where they used a feather-filled golf ball and swung at it with club-shaped sticks. Today I will be talking about how golf is played, some aspects of your swing that will improve your game, and how to decide which club you should use. I'm also going to kind of tell you why it's important to me. First, we start with scoring. So there is a par in golf. Par is the amount of shots it should take for you to get it from the tee box to the hole. They have holes ranging in par 3, par 4, and par 5. Par 3 is a shorter distance from the tee box to the green. Meanwhile, a par 5 is the longest distance. Some of the terminology that goes with par is birdie, which is one shot under par. That means you get it to the hole one shot less than the average person. Likewise, there is a bogey, which means one shot over the amount of shots it should take. There's double bogey, which is 2 shots over, and there is an eagle, which is 2 shots under. And of course, there's the big hole-in-one, which designates that you hit it from your first shot off the tee box and get it into the hole. So now there are certain things that go into it. There are hazards, which will add a shot penalty to your original score. Some of these hazards include water hazards and tree out-of-bound hazards. Water hazards is when you hit it into a pond, a lake, and then with that hazard, you get a one-shot penalty. So let's say you're shooting shot number 2, you hit it into the water. That means now you are on shot 3, and your next shot you have to take from the spot you originally shot from is shot 4. That's what a penalty in stroke costs. Likewise, a tree out of bounds hazard is if you can't find your ball in a group of trees, then you have to drop a ball from the nearest point of entry. So wherever it kind of went in, you kind of got to eye judge it. Wherever it went in, you're going to drop a ball from right outside of it and consider that one shot penalty. Likewise, there are other hazards which are not considered penalties, but they just make it harder to shoot. There's the rough and a sand bunker. The rough is just a thicker part of grass. It's just higher than the regular fairway grass, which is the level grass. And it's just harder to shoot out of. And likewise, the sand bunker is just sand. It makes it harder to shoot out of, and you have to use a special club to hit out of it. Next, I will talk about the mechanics of a golf swing. It's important to know, here's one of my golf clubs, it's important to know that the motion of your swing will determine how well you will hit the ball. Some of the motions that you need to look for, you want to make sure that you rotate your hips when you're swinging. So when I'm about to swing, I make sure I rotate my hips. You want to make sure you always rotate your hips. Another thing, you always want to make sure your arm is straight when you're on your backswing. Keep your arm straight like that until you get to about this point. That's about the time when you're okay to bend your arms. Obviously, you have to. So you want to keep your arm straight until that point. The third thing you want to look for is making sure that you're looking down at your target. So there's a ball on the ground. You want to make sure you're always staring at that ball through the whole swing. You never want to bring your head up. Keep looking at the ball until you make contact. What can happen if you don't hit the ball, if you look up, you might hit above the ball and miss. That considers a stroke penalty. You also could just accidentally chunk a lot of ground before it. And that's another stroke penalty. Anytime you take a shot on the ball, that will be considered a stroke. Now, there are other things that go into it. Sometimes the power of your swing is something that people think will determine your accuracy. That is not the case. You can swing very powerfully with the golf club, but that does not determine how far you will actually hit the ball. It's better to have one fluid back and forth motion. If you swing too powerfully, you might chunk in front of it, and you might miss the ball in general. Those will all consider a shot, and it's not going to help you to do that. So that's always good to make sure your motion is fluid, back and forth. That is another thing. And then there's also certain aspects to it that will decide your shot. So there's a thing called a slice and a hook. A slice, for me, I am a left-handed golfer. A slice is when you would hit the ball and it goes out in front of you that direction and then goes further diagonal in front of you that way. So to speak, I would hit it, it would go out and forward. For a right-handed golfer, it would go out and then behind them, but it would be behind me, but it's in front of them for a right-handed. A hook is the opposite of that. So when I'm swinging, if I hit the ball, it will go out and behind me. Same for a right-handed golfer, it will go behind them. That's what's considered a hook. It's not good to play off of those because they do not necessarily help your shot. They can help you in some situations, but it's better to just make sure you hit straight, because if you play off of those, sometimes that might become a part of your swing, and that's not a good added benefit to swinging and hitting slice or a hook. Next, I will talk about the decision of the club you should use. It's better to decide which club you use based off of distances. Now, there's a lot of different clubs between these range, but the range of clubs goes from the driver to the sand wedge. The driver is the strongest club. It looks like this. This is a driver. This one will hit the farthest, and it should only be used on the tee box. Likewise, on the other hand, the sand wedge will hit the shortest distance. It's not necessarily going to help you to decide. It just depends on the day. But these, I got these from aboutsports.com, are the average distances for a driver to a sand wedge. Now, this shows the short, mid, and long range for men and women. These are not necessarily accurate statements because everybody's different. Everybody swings a different way. However, these are yardages. Make sure you also know that golf is always measured in yards, not in feet or meters. It's also good to know that the way to determine the best way of your swing is based off of different aspects. One big aspect is the weather. So, of course, you can have a windy day outside, you can have rain. These are two aspects that make that help you decide which you should hit. With the wind, it's always better to go based off of the direction. If the wind's coming towards you, you want to use a little stronger club. So that would be a 4-iron, 3-wood, so to speak. Those are the clubs you want to use when the wind is stronger towards you. Now, if it's going away from you, you want to make sure you use a less club because the wind will carry the ball. So use like a 5-iron or a 6-iron or a 7-iron, so to speak. Those are the things that you have to decide just based off of wind. Rain is another aspect, like I said, where the ball will just hit and stick. So you want to kind of get that exact average of distance with the rain, because with the rain, it will never roll. Rain will stop the ball wherever it's at. Another factor that can go into it is the slope of the whatever surface you're hitting to. So if you're hitting to the greens are not always level. Sometimes they will go at an angle, somehow, some way. That will also determine something. If you hit the ball and it rolls onto it, it might roll down, which could or could not help you because it might roll off the green and away from your target. So those are kind of aspects you want to take into it as well. In conclusion, I talked about how the game is played, talked about some motions for your swing, and deciding which club you should use. Now, some of the joys and benefits for golf of me. I think golf is just really, really peaceful. It's like really quiet sport. You're supposed to be quiet. You don't need to be loud. Just swing. It's a very, very calm sport to me, and that's why I like golf. It's not the high pressure situations of a basketball game, so to speak. Some of the angers I have of golf. Of course, sometimes you have a bad day, you don't hit that well. Some of these things happen. It's just general. Everybody does well sometimes and bad sometimes in a sport. It happens for everybody. That's the only big anger I have. Big tip that I can give to you for playing golf: practice. With any sport, you have to practice. That's the only thing that will make sure that you are better at what you're doing. You have to practice, and that's what I've been doing forever. You have to practice, practice, practice. It makes you perfect, right? That's a good thing to always think about. Make sure you just always take your time to. Those are things that you can add to your game that will make your game as good as you possibly can. Thank you. This is my presentation. You guys have a great day.